Welcome to 13 Minutes of Gig News. In 13 minutes or less. Hello, everyone. Where have I been? It's been a couple weeks, right, since the 13. And even if it gets pushed today, I don't miss 13. What's been happening, guys, is my dog has been having to deal with 3 different things on his right eye. He does have degenerative eye loss just from age on both eyes, but he had a ulcer on his right eye. He had some other things going on, and we were going to the vet, and now we went to an eye specialist this week. I've had to be home a lot with him, and then I've been working every minute I can outside of that. So a lot of things have suffered. However, 13 is back. He had his surgery on Wednesday. Still not out of the woods, but we're 3 days in or 2.5 days in now since surgery. He's doing a lot better. Hopefully that continues until what should be his last appointment in the first week of January. And at that point, he's been in the cone for 3.5 weeks. He might get it off then. That will be 5 weeks in a cone. And if you guys have a dog, you know. The cone of shame, as it's somewhat called, sucks. And if you have a Border Collie Australian Shepherd mix like I do, who have crazy energy and whatnot, it really sucks. But he's recovering good. Those of you that know, thank you very much for all the well wishes and everything that's going on. Today and next Saturday are the last 2 13s of the year. 13 is returning, of course, in 2025. 13 in 2025 will be, it will be dropped every Sunday at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific every Sunday. We're going to move it from Saturday to Sunday. And it will be always on that time, so it won't just be floating. If it misses that for some reason, there was an emergency, and obviously I will accommodate around it. Just wanted to bring you up to speed. I know that wasted a couple minutes, and hopefully we can get through both these articles today. But let's get into it. The first article today comes from Christopher Taylor, a friend of mine in Mesa, Arizona. Friend of a lot of the communities. Chris sends me a lot of articles. A lot of people do. And then all these articles can be found on uberlyftdrivers.com. But when Chris sent this to me, and I had already seen it, and I was like, okay, you know what? This one is actually worthy. So I wanted to give a shout out to Chris, as well as all of you guys for supporting 13 and listening over the years. You guys are the best. But let's go. I'm actually going to just literally go through the articles. So Uber investors are calling for more transparency into driver pay. This is the title of the article, and there's multi-articles running all over the place about this. So it wasn't picked up by one, which sometimes happens. It's picked up by all media. Now, a group of investors in Uber Technologies is calling on the ride-hailing service to disclose more information on how it pays drivers, saying a clearer breakdown is critical to assessing the company's ability to make money. SOC Investment Group, an advisor to labor union pension funds representing a stake less than 1% of Uber's total shares, is proposing a resolution at the company's shareholder meeting in the early part of 2025 that would require the firm to regularly disclose a more granular breakdown of driver compensation. Hopefully you're all following that. We're going to get more into it, but you should already be getting some tips here on what we're going to be talking about. Uber doesn't, for example, currently separate out its payments to drivers, to restaurants, and to insurance providers as part of its gross bookings in quarterly financial statements. So in a nutshell, what does that mean? It means they're just kind of blocking it all together and going, here's what we paid to the insurance companies, here's what we did to the drivers. These investors want to know what's going on. So SOC Group said in its proposal that the company's practice is unusually opaque. True, we've known this for a long time, and leaves investors in the dark on how much commission Uber is taking, how drivers' pay has changed over time, and whether drivers are earning a living income. Uber declined to comment. And this is from, 1% of Uber is still a lot of money, guys. So, they have a hold. While the investors represented by SOC hold a relatively small stake in Uber, SOC itself has taken on high-profile companies including Tesla, Starbucks, with some success in 2022 against JP Morgan Chase, which agreed to a third-party audit of its $30 billion racial equity commitment after the group took up the matter. It also rallied support for a McDonald's Corp resolution that required the company to audit how its practices may be contributing to social and racial inequalities. Okay? Uber has faced a shareholder proposal related to driver treatment before. It's actually not one, it's many. Investors overwhelmingly rejected the proposal, even as labor advocates globally pushed for better pay and protections for gig workers employed as independent contractors. SOC met with an investor relations representative for Uber to discuss its proposal, Richard Clayton from SOC. That was what he said. And then, a research director for the group, but he said Uber later followed up by email to ask that the group withdraw its resolution, saying the current level of disclosure was appropriate. So Uber's response was, we're telling you investors in these breakdowns that aren't broke down, we're giving you enough information. Does that sound familiar at all to all you drivers? You don't have to drive for Rideshare to understand this. They do this to drivers all the time. We talk about transparency. Most apps, there's not nearly enough to be a true independent contractor. They're breaking all these rules by not being transparent. But these are the investors saying, no, we need to know this. This is a quote from Clayton, who said in an interview, their regular disclosures need to include all material information, not just once in a while, quote unquote. Uber can try to keep SOC's resolution from becoming a voting matter at its annual meeting by filing a no action request with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. If that happens, SOC would have the right to present its arguments before the regulator decides. So we have senators now looking into an Uber RICO case. We have DoorDash is about to undergo 4 different federal investigations, and they will also be grouped into the Uber Eats RICO case. They also have states going after them left and right. DoorDash is kind of, these companies are all these giants are all facing the same thing. You're not being transparent with the drivers. Well, you haven't been in a long time. Well, then be transparent with us, the investors, so that we can at least oversee and make sure these drivers aren't getting screwed over. Is that something new? Absolutely. Maybe a few new, but now there's an actual push, even outside of the 1% voting group in this SOC. Remember, this and all the articles I discuss here and on podcasts and whatnot can be found at uberlyftdrivers.com. There are over 5,000 articles on there. It posts daily. Go check it out. So the next article, and we got to rush to get through this, but this is important, you guys, because it's just here it is, the holiday season. An Instagram influencer, so not TikTok for the first time, Instagram, gets taken for a ride after Uber slaps her with a $321 bill for a 3-mile ride. Okay, I'm interested, are you? A New Jersey influencer got taken for a ride by Uber after the rideshare company slapped her with a surprise $321 bill, nearly quadruple her quoted price for that night, not an average of what she normally pays, for a ride home from Midtown. Sophie Green hailed an Uber X just before midnight Saturday. This is of last week, by the way. To take the social media stunner and her friends back to the Garden State. So they were going across the bridge from Midtown to New Jersey. The total ride was 3 miles. So I won't give away, there's no reason to say the addresses here, but Uber quoted her for the 3.4 mile ride from Midtown to Weehawken, via the Lincoln Tunnel, for those of you that know the geography there, $89 at midnight on a Saturday. They quoted her $89 to go 3.4 miles through the Lincoln Tunnel. She said that is 10 blocks. Now, I know the city blocks in New York are much bigger than in most cities, but 10 blocks, 3.4 miles, $89 already seems high to me. But that could be what it is on a Saturday night. Even here in Denver, you never know. But now you'd get a few more miles, I think. Here's her quote. "We didn't have control over the situation. It's not like we were telling him to make stops and doing other things of that nature." So it was a direct drop. It was her and a couple friends, one pickup, one stop, no other details. She usually shells out for cars at night versus taking public transit due to safety concerns. Noted the late night trip took much longer than the usual 20-minute sprint due to hellish traffic, hellish midtown gridlock, possibly stemming from a partial closure on the Lincoln Tunnel and drunken SantaCon pandemonium. Not sure what that is, but you guys can go look it up. But while Uber sent updates checking in on her safety, which go look that up, guys, that's a joke. It looks like you've been stopped for a while. Are you safe? If she wasn't, they would have taken her phone. That's not how that works, guys. But there was no letting me know about the price change, she said. So they're checking in on her safety, but nothing about a price change. Green immediately began trying to dispute the tab. Now remember, $89 turned into $321. Okay, she immediately tried to dispute the tab, but the rideshare company didn't budge, not a dime back, until she posted, on Sunday morning on Instagram, and within 30 minutes they refunded her the original quoted price of $89, but kept the difference of the $321. So they're probably thinking here's her quote, they're probably thinking a lot of people won't notice, or because of this time of year, everyone expects things to be more expensive. Now, she's saying that she won't use this anymore. Josh Gould, an Uber spokesman, said that Green was one of the several riders whose trips were delayed due to construction on the Lincoln Tunnel and were hit with sizable fare hikes due to longer rides. "We understand riders' frustrations and have issued partial refunds," Gould says. Okay, really? That's 13 minutes and under 13.